Nintendo have enjoyed all kinds of positive news over the last 12 months since the release of the Switch. The console is doing well, reviewers and users are loving it, and Nintendo are breaking sales targets. Well, you know what they say? Something bad always happens. Always something bad.
That's the old saying. The Nintendo Switch console has been hacked, blowing the system wide open for all kinds of shenanigans, including piracy. What will really sting for Nintendo though is the nature of the hack. It's about the system's hardware, its actual processor chip, meaning Nintendo can't just patch it out with an update. The exploit is carried out by overpowering the Switch Tegra processor's USB recovery mode using lots of data from another computer via USB. Doing that allows them to bypass the security around the boot ROM, opening up all kinds of possibilities, including running Linux on the system. Digital Foundry say they've also seen a screenshot of Doom 3 running on it, presumably, they say, running via Linux.
The hack was made public a few days ago by veteran console hackers Failoverflow and Reswitched. Writing in a blog post about it, Failoverflow said, "Given our experiences with past consoles, we've been wary of releasing vulnerability details or exploits for fear of them being used primarily for piracy rather than homebrew. The bug will be made public sooner or later, likely sooner, so we might as well release now along with our Linux boot chain and kernel tree. To make it very clear that we do this for fun and homebrew and nothing else. The hack ultimately opens up homebrew on the console, which can mean plenty of harmless activity as well as more worrying things for Nintendo like piracy and modded video games." Digital Foundry calls it a security nightmare for the company, whose only option at this point looks like releasing a newer, revised model of the console.
This really does blow the whole thing wide open. There's a lot of Switch consoles out there in the wild now, so even if they do come out with a new iteration of the Nintendo Switch, there's still like, what was it, 14, 15 million at last public count or something of Nintendo Switch consoles sold. So that's an awful lot of people that have got this hardware that can be, exploited now, opened up for homebrew, which it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone can pirate games on it now, but it does open up that possibility. And you can just do other stuff on it. You can use it as a tablet computer, running ROMs and like emulators and stuff like that. It just opens it up basically out of the Nintendo software. And I mean, this is a absolute nightmare for Nintendo, and we just kind of wanted to quote Digital Foundry in there because in their words it's a security nightmare for Nintendo. I mean, absolutely, it's a bad situation. They can't update it with software. What can they do? What can they do except revise the hardware? It's a difficult position they're in now. And in other news, according to the NPD group, Sony's PS4 outsold the Nintendo Switch and Xbox One in March, and it remains the best-selling console hardware platform of 2018 so far. That said, hardware spending was down year on year in March, of course, since the Nintendo Switch launched in March last year. 2018 as a whole is up 13% since the start of the year, up to $925 million, which NPD analyst Matt Piscatella says is the highest year-to-date total since 2014. Piscatella also says Xbox One is contributing to the growth, which means it is selling better than it has done in the past, no doubt buoyed by the extra sales from the Xbox One X.
Elsewhere, Microsoft has been accused of egregious and willful patent infringement in a new lawsuit filed by Infernal Technologies and Terminal Reality. The legal filing relates to graphical lighting and shadowing techniques. The tech was developed by Terminal Reality while making games Nocturne, Blood Rain and The Walking Dead Survival Instinct, and Sea of Thieves infringe on patents it holds. Their claim is backed up by a patent that Microsoft tried to file but was ultimately rejected in 2007 because of the patents that Terminal Reality already held. EA tried to challenge some lawsuits filed against it by Terminal Reality over the same patents back in 2015, but ended up having to reach a formal settlement agreement in October of last year.
So this is a company that clearly has two very important, very specific patents about the way lighting and shadowing works in video games, and they are able to identify the companies that are infringing on those patents, and they are going after them. They are making money off of this, I imagine. It's EA. They've already gone after. Microsoft tried in the past to file a patent and say this is our technology, and then they went, no, hang on a minute, it's ours. We've got these older patents from these other games, probably lesser known games of course, but that it doesn't matter. They did that technology first, so it's theirs, and there's probably a nice little earner for them. They've invented this tech that other people are trying to steal.
Yeah, made loads of money off EA apparently over them infringing on their patents, so it's a weird one for me. If you develop something new which isn't technically new because someone else developed it beforehand, you're not entitled to that. Somebody else is entitled to the money that you make from that. It's weird. It's a weird state of affairs.
A big part of their accusation as well is that Microsoft knows full well what they're doing. That's the important thing. They knew that these people had the patents in the first place because Microsoft had tried to file a patent and they got rejected because it was decided that the technology was already basically what this other company had done. So Microsoft knows that Terminal Reality have got the possession of those patents, and yet still they put the tech in Halo and Crackdown and Forza. That's the accusation here. It's going to be interesting to see how Microsoft react. And last up, top industry analyst Michael Pachter has said he thinks both the next Xbox and PS5 will arrive in the year 2020. Pachter says 2019 is too early for Microsoft to move into the next gen because of how recently we got the Xbox One X. And he says if one of the big console makers pick a date, the other will follow suit. We won't see the kind of staggered launch of last gen where the PS3 arrived so much later than the Xbox 360.
What Michael Pachter does say as well is that having a console launch on its own with no other competition worked really well for the Switch. I think in terms of the next generation, the Xbox, the next Xbox, whatever that's going to be called, and the PlayStation 5, I think it will work in Xbox's favour to come first, right? Because it worked so well for them with the Xbox 360. They sold loads and they were the market leader at the time. Whereas the PlayStation don't really want Xbox to get a leapfrog ahead of them. They as soon as the Xbox announced, PlayStation will be like, right, we've got one too. PlayStation are leading the market by so much at the moment. So it makes sense. Xbox kind of want to get it out there before. I reckon. This is forget Michael Pachter. He changed his mind, by the way, because last week he said that it might be 2018 depending on the sales, it might be 2019 depending on the sales. Now he's changed his mind now. He's hedging his bets, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's like, it's all right dropping an analyst if you predict everything. Exactly. Bet
on all the horses. That's what I do.
Yeah, but to my money, I think it's more in Xbox's favour to get it out earlier, and it's more in PlayStation's, Sony's favour to let the PlayStation 4 go as long as possible because it's doing really well. So that's it for our console-y roundup thing. Let us know what interested you down in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. Check out another one of the videos on your screen there. If you want to support the channel, there's a link there to Patreon. We'll see you again in the next video. Until then, bye for now.